Hello everyone and welcome to CEP 200, Intro to the Counseling Professions. My name is Dr. Gray and I am going to be your instructor for this summer 2026 semester. So the intention here for this video is to go through the syllabus as well as to give you essentially the expectations going forward, including for Unit 1. So this will encompass the welcome video as well as your Unit 1 video. So for each of the units, there will either be a video or an audio. So make sure that you are listening to each of those, and I will talk a little bit about why those are important in just a few minutes. But just to start, again, my name is Dr. Gray. I want to tell you a little bit about me in terms of this course and just like in the professions and all of that stuff. So I have been teaching this course now for 10 years. So it has definitely evolved over time. At the end of every semester, your last journal as well as the evaluations that are submitted by students, I review all of those and take all of that feedback into consideration as I continue to teach the course, just to make sure that, it's changing with student expectations, changing kind of like with the times, as well as just incorporating things that students actually enjoy doing as opposed to feeling like things are kind of tedious and boring. So overall, I get some pretty decent feedback around the course. So I'm hopeful that, everyone who's in it for this semester feels like they get out of it exactly what they intended to or more. So I teach this course on more of a kind of part-time basis. So my full-time job is actually a supervising therapist. So I work within the local nonprofit sector here in Buffalo. And not only do I see patients, but I also supervise clinicians who are both new in the field and who have been working in the field for quite some time. So there's kind of a mix of different therapists, but you will find, as we go through the course, especially in the first couple of units, a lot of those counseling professions really exist within the nonprofit and public sector. So even just my experience from before being in the role that I'm in right now, I have worked in many of the capacities that we are going to talk about, this semester. And if I haven't worked in them, I have certainly taught courses on them. So for example, the first unit we're going to learn, or the second unit we're going to learn about, mental health counselors as well as addiction counselors. And I am licensed and certified in both of those. We're going to learn about rehabilitation counseling. I am also a certified rehabilitation counselor. We are going to learn about like organizational psychology. I've taught courses on that. And the reason I tell you all of this is just because I want you to know and feel like the instructor who is teaching you this stuff is competent in this area. So hopefully that sounds good to you. But if you have any questions about me or kind of my history, please feel free to let me know. Let's see. So one of the first things, and so now I'm gonna start going through the syllabus now. One of the things that I noticed a lot a couple of years ago, not so much more recently, but a lot of students were enrolling in the course, and when they were asked to kind of do the first discussion board post in the welcome unit, students were really saying that they had enrolled in this course so that they could learn more about counseling interventions and techniques and whatnot. And so the first thing that I always tell students is that is not something that we review in this course. So while we do go through some different theoretical orientations or approaches to counseling, we are not learning about specific counseling techniques. The whole intention with this course is to go through and learn about the different counseling professions that are available. So if you take a look at the syllabus under the course description, this is, what is counseling? What is a counselor? What's the difference among counselors? What different settings do they work in? And I also do try to throw in there what credentials are needed for each of the counseling professions. So I have had a lot of students, find that with this course, they definitely wanted to go into the counseling professions, and so this information has helped a lot of students kind of figure out the trajectory or the path that they want to follow in order to become a particular counseling professional. So we are going to go through, like I had mentioned already, like mental health counseling, addiction counseling, rehabilitation counseling, school counseling, career counseling, the faith-based counselors. We are going to go through and hit at least 2 counseling professions per unit. So going along here in the syllabus, this is all through Brightspace. You will find when we get to the tracking calendar that you will have about a week to complete every unit. If you were taking this course in the spring or in the fall, students have 2 weeks to complete each unit. So with this being a summer course, I understand, like with it being accelerated, it's a lot of work for a week. So I just need you to buckle in for the next couple of weeks and get through it. But yeah, I always like to recognize that I know that this is a lot of work in a short period of time. You are doing a full course in just a few weeks. So I try to be flexible, but also realistic, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as far as like deadlines and late assignments and whatnot. So really all you need for this course, other than a computer and internet, is the textbook, which is titled The Sage Guide to Careers for Counseling and Clinical Practice. The author here is Helkowski. So when you hear me say Helkowski in the audio and videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. It is a very small book that is intentional. I only feel like you need the information that you need as opposed to a bunch of fluff. So I tried to keep it minimal to what it is exactly that you need. So if you're interested in learning about, the different citations, about purchasing text and supplementary materials, and the student learning outcomes, those are all in the syllabus. So let's get to the part that a lot of people really come here for. So course requirements. I'm going to need you to really listen and remember the different requirements that I'm about to mention, because students oftentimes, when they get feedback saying that their assignment was too brief, they're like, I didn't know that there was a word minimum or anything like that, and it's all in this video. So first and foremost, the first element of this course are unit assignments. So there are unit assignments for units 1 through 5. Your last unit will not have a unit assignment, because this is when you're pretty much going to be, working on and wrapping up your final paper. So these unit assignments, I used to tell students, give a substantial and well thought out response to questions. And I understand that there are some students who don't do as well with like abstract guidance and instructions like that. So now I just tell students each response, so questions, 1 through whatever, each of those need to have a response that is at least 200 to 250 words. So it's okay if you go over that, but at least 200 to 250 words. I am really looking for students to reflect on the question or the information that's being presented and really show that they are, taking in and processing the information. So please keep that in mind. And like the 200 and 250 words is going to be pretty much the staple through most of the assignments. So now that second element that we're going to talk about is the discussion boards. So there are 4 discussion boards. What I tried to do was alternate the discussion boards with the quizzes, which we'll talk about in a second, just so that you're not doing, both in every unit. So there's 4 discussion boards, and the way that the points work is that your initial post, which needs to be 200 to 250 words, is going to be worth 15 points. So this is where you're going to really, reflect on the material, offer your thoughts, your opinions, your perspectives, and all of that. And this is where other students can see it. And then for the part that everyone loves, you do need to comment on 2 of your classmates' posts. So the way that that works is each response is going to be worth 5 points. Again, please hit around that 200 minimum. And just like reflect to your classmates, right? Like let's offer something to them, maybe ask questions or just say, I really like that you said this, or I agree with this, and then give an explanation as to your thought process to complement, or, even just, helpfully disagree to something that they had said. I think that we're all at a point where I don't need to review the policies on being respectful to one another. I've never run into an issue like that here with discussion boards. So again, like, let's just be respectful in all of our responses to our classmates. Okay, so that is for the discussion board. Let's talk about quizzes. So there's only going to be 3 of these. They are worth 25 points each. The reason why it is so important to make sure you are reviewing the videos and the audios is because I will give you 2 free quiz answers in the video that week. So make sure that you are listening to anything that I post, because you will get 2 free quiz questions. If you complete the quiz before you listen to it, you don't get the points back, unfortunately. And the other thing about the quiz is you cannot open them and then go back and continue it. You have to do it on the first try. So please keep that in mind as well. Don't open the quiz until you're ready to take it. And then we have our journal prompts and responses. There are 5 of these, and these are worth 20 points each. So these are private to only yourself and I. So yeah. The other element to this is, again, the prompt for the journal is going to be located in that week's video or audio, so that I have to listen to this in order to get the journal prompt. So sometimes students will think that they are just reflecting on something, or they know the journal prompt and then complete it and then come back and watch the video later and are like, can I get those points back? Unfortunately, no. The expectation is to watch and listen before you complete the unit. Let's see. And then finally, I'll talk a little bit more about this, as we approach this point in time, but we do have a final paper called an advocacy paper. And so the gist of this is that you are going to choose a vulnerable population that you are passionate about, and you are going to write a paper on how you would advocate for that population, coming from the sense that you are already a counseling professional in the workforce, and that you have unlimited resources to advocate for this population. So again, we'll get to that later. This is out of 125 points. So the paper itself is 100 points. I have all students post their advocacy topic a couple of weeks beforehand, just to make sure that their topic/population is appropriate for the paper. And just posting that, period, gets you 25 points. So really easy, really simple. So that is it for course requirements. So for grading, the way that I handle this is, so all grades will be submitted for the unit by the next, so let's say, for example, like Unit 1, you'll complete all of your assignments for Unit 1. And then by the end of Unit 2, I will have all of your grades in for Unit 1. So by the end of the next unit, you'll have all of your grades. So that gives me about a week to grade everyone's assignments, and sometimes it's a little bit shorter than that. Let's see, extensions. Okay, for the summer course, extensions are really difficult because it's so accelerated. So if for some reason you need a few hours, or you need another day or so to finish up the unit, you must email me requesting a extension before the date and time of the unit is due. So for example, if assignments are due by 11:59 p.m. on a Sunday, you just have to email me asking for an extension before 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. It does not matter if you get a response from me, you just have to let me know you need an extension. So I do hold that to everyone. So unfortunately, if you ask for an extension after the date and time has passed, you unfortunately won't be granted it. And so what this does is help students stay on track throughout the whole semester, as opposed to, kind of giving up and then coming back at the end of the semester trying to get credit. So please stay with us throughout the whole semester. Academic integrity. Please do not use AI for anything other than, spell checking and grammar. We have a program that I run all of your assignments through that can tell if it was AI generated or if it was plagiarized. Please don't put me in that situation. I have at least one student every semester. It's not a comfortable conversation for me. It's not a comfortable conversation for you. Please just avoid doing it. And then there's information here on counseling services, sexual harassment and violence, technology recommendations, and all that stuff. So let's get down to the tracking calendar. So the way that this is working is, first and foremost, if it looks like most people had completed the introduction material, so review the syllabus, localize, familiarize yourself with stuff in the course, read the first chapter of Helkowski, and then complete discussion board number 1. I cannot expect students to do this stuff, before the semester has even started. So if you have not yet done this, please just make sure that you do it by the end of Unit 1. Okay, let's talk about Unit 1. So Unit 1 starts today and it ends on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So that is how our course is going to run. You'll have your new course material, the unit video or audio on Monday, and then it's due by Sunday. So for Unit 1, because yesterday was a holiday, it's from Tuesday to Sunday. So it starts today. You have until Sunday, the 31st at 11:59 p.m. to get all of this material in or ask for an extension. So for Unit 1, we are just going to go through the counseling profession. So you're going to review the Code of Ethics, Counselor Wellness, and Cultural Considerations. So for this unit, you're going to watch the unit video. You're going to read Chapter 2 in your textbook. You are going to review the ACA Code of Ethics. You do not need to go through and read this word for word. Browse around, see what sticks out to you, read some of the different areas, and that is fine. You are going to read a supplemental article, 3 of them, I apologize. And then complete the Unit 1 assignment, complete journal reflection number 1, and then complete quiz number 1. So for journal number 1, here is your prompt. Within the Code of Ethics, you will notice the mention of bias throughout the document. And all of us have biases and values. However, it is important that we refrain from using our own biases and values to sway a client towards a particular plan of action. What biases do you have that could bleed into your work as a helping professional? Remember, we all have unconscious bias. So please feel free to, be honest. Again, this is between you and I. Kind of reflect on that and see what comes up for you. And then let's take a look at quiz number 1. Let's see here. All right. Oops. Clicked on the wrong thing. All right. So what I do for these is I try to take a look at the questions that students had the most difficulty with the previous semester, because I don't want it to be tricky. So the first question that I'm going to offer you an answer to is, this is the question. A professional counselor is considered to be a clinician with a master's degree or higher. The answer to this is true. The reason is that one cannot become licensed until they have a master's degree at the very least. So that is when we are considering people to be a professional counselor, because they're eligible for that licensure. So the answer to that is true. And then the other question is, counseling is delivered only through in-person and face-to-face interactions. The response to this is actually false. So, as traumatic and, terrible as COVID was, one thing that counseling professionals really kind of leaned into was telehealth services, and that has continued to stay even after COVID, just to eliminate any types of barriers or anything for people receiving treatment. So there's a ton of ways that counseling can actually be offered to patients. So that is what you will be working on from today until Sunday. The other thing I want to mention is that if you do send me an email, just because, I do have, another position, it does take me about 24 to 48 hours to respond. Summer courses, I try to be on top of it a little bit more just because it's so accelerated. So if you do need something, feel free to email me. It just might take me a day or so to get back to you. But please, I encourage everyone to send me an email if you have even the smallest question. I want to make sure that everyone does well and feels like they have a good understanding of what they need and what's going on. So I think that covers pretty much everything. If I forgot anything, I'll make an announcement or mention it in next week's video. But again, if you need absolutely anything, please feel free to reach out to me. And I'm looking forward to working with you all this semester. Have a good week.